Welcome. I'm Dr. Steve Tashiro. Thank you for visiting our website. Are you scared, frustrated, and confused because you're not sure what's causing your symptoms, and in spite of your best efforts and many doctor visits, they continue to worsen? If this is you or a loved one, take heart. Symptoms like fatigue, brain fog, memory loss, depression and anxiety, insomnia, mood changes, learning disabilities, chronic pain, and many others can be a sign of deteriorating brain function, for which my brain recovery program can be life-changing. In the next 15 minutes, I'll be sharing information about how my brain recovery program can help you regain the health and the life that you want. The brain is the center of the central nervous system, which controls all the other systems of the body, physical, mental, and emotional. While highly sophisticated and remarkably adaptive, the brain's function can be compromised by a multitude of stressors. These are what we address and correct for in our brain recovery program. The first one that I want to touch on is how past and present mental emotional stress and trauma can impact the brain. Unresolved stress and trauma affect the central nervous system adversely, leading to physical, mental, and emotional breakdown. Quantum Neuro Reset Therapy, or QNRT, is a system of treatment we use to resolve the mental and emotional shocks causing imbalances in the brain lobes. As an example, the frontal lobes of the brain allow us to plan, do problem solving, and give us the ability to reason. Traumas that can get locked here and affect its function include fear and fright, disgust, and a sense of powerlessness. Another example would be the parietal lobe here. The parietal lobe tells us where our body is in space, and it allows us to have sensory perception. Brutal separation losses, such as experienced with divorce, the death of a family member, or even abuse, can traumatize the parietal lobe and adversely affect its function. Through quantum neuro reset therapy, we are able to identify specific adverse events and release the stress of these events from the brain, allowing the brain to regain optimal function. To learn more about this remarkable system of treatment, go to qnrt.com. Once on that website, click on Client Education, and then read the sections on the ACE study, also core drivers, and negative patterns. You'll find it very enlightening and perhaps shed some light on your current health challenges. Once the brain has been freed of the burden of mental, emotional stress and trauma, it's often very beneficial to then retrain the brain to restore greater ease and flexibility in its function. Just like it's good to remove a heavy cast if you've broken your arm, it's often good then to exercise it to regain full use. We do this for the brain using what is called neurofeedback, using the NeurOptimal system. This is another life and health enhancing technology. Research in neuroscience, nonlinear dynamics, mathematics, psychology, and engineering led to the release of the NeurOptimal system in 1999. Since then, over 3 million hours of brain training has been conducted by practitioners as well as in homes. While NeurOptimal users have experienced significant reductions in all the symptoms shown on our website, the NeurOptimal system does not target or focus a specific symptom. Instead, it gives the brain a real-time picture of its electrical activity, so the brain can then make automatic course corrections in its function. It's very much like looking at your image in a mirror, and if you smile and you see food on your tooth, you remove it. If you see that your hair is sticking up in the back, you smooth it down, and if you see that your tie is crooked, you straighten it. That's how the brain self-regulates and self-corrects when it can see an image of its own function. And this is a wonderful example of how self-regulating and self-correcting the brain really is. So to learn more about neurofeedback in the neurooptimal system, you can go to Zenger.com. The third component of our brain recovery program is to assess and improve brain chemistry and brain function. An important consideration of this is the presence of genetic variations which can adversely affect brain function. What I'm talking about here are mutations or variations or SNPs in the DNA, which is the template upon which proteins are produced. Proteins contribute to enzymes, which drive key chemical reactions in our bodies. If there's a defect in the structure of these enzymes because of genetic variations in the DNA, that can lead to significant, even catastrophic health effects. A couple of examples of how this works. The amino acid tyrosine, which comes from dietary sources, is converted by the enzyme DDC to dopamine. Dopamine is then further converted to norepinephrine and epinephrine. Now, the same enzyme DDC also converts another amino acid, tryptophan, into 5-HTP, which is then converted into serotonin. Now, if you have a variant in the gene which codes for this enzyme, then this enzyme may not work properly. It may not work altogether, or its function may be significantly compromised. If that is the case, then the tyrosine is not converted to dopamine, the tryptophan is not converted to 5-HTP, and the effect of that in terms of function would be sleep disorders, chronic depression, chronic fatigue. Now, the way we help this situation is to provide nutritional support to get this enzyme working better, or if necessary, to jump over the defective enzyme so this chain of activity can be continued. So again, this relates to identifying and addressing genetic variations that compromise the function of enzymes that drive important chemical pathways affecting the brain. Now, in addition to this, we assess and support other aspects of body chemistry that also impact brain function. And this would include gut function, sugar regulation, hormone balance, the presence of inflammation, and environmental stressors such as electromagnetic field exposure, chemicals, metals, and even infectious organisms. As I stated earlier, our brains are remarkably adaptive and resilient. At the same time, we live in a time of unprecedented societal, environmental, physical, mental, and emotional stress. If we are to not only survive but thrive in this environment, our brains and bodies must function at their highest level. The good news is you don't have to go it alone. I urge you to avail yourself of my 43 years of experience in healthcare, helping thousands of people overcome chronic health conditions. Just take the first step of picking up your phone and calling for your 2-visit brain recovery offer. So again, I'm Dr. Steve Toshiro. I look forward to meeting you and helping you and your brain.